Emperor Palpatine? A good guy?
I don't believe what I'm hearing.
On the surface, it sounds crazy. Emperor Palpatine is widely seen as the villain of Star Wars. But everyone is the hero of their own story. So how do we know if the heroes of this story are the real heroes?
Good is a point of view, Anakin.
The only way to know for sure is to use our brains. Let's be objective and use facts and logic. Let's ask ourselves a question. How do we know that Emperor Palpatine is evil? Sure, he looks evil, but as we all know, appearances can be deceiving.
Judge me by my size, do you?
Some of you might argue that Palpatine is evil just because he's a Sith Lord, but is that necessarily true?
You're the Sith Lord.
Obviously, Palpatine is a Sith Lord, but does being a Sith Lord mean that Palpatine is evil?
Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil!
Let's not criticize him solely on the basis of his personal religious beliefs and practices. Now, the Jedi would argue that the Sith are inherently evil. They say that the Sith must be destroyed in order for there to be balance in the Force. But destroying every single dark side user doesn't sound like balance to me. Doesn't the word balance imply an equal amount on both sides? The same amount of light and dark? If the Jedi truly wanted balance, why do they want to eradicate the handful of Sith in existence during a time when there are hundreds of Jedi? And why should we trust the opinion of the Jedi anyway? The Jedi are a weird cult who indoctrinate children into a strict way of living. They tell everyone to call them Master.
Master Yoda.
I'm deeply sorry, Master.
Master wouldn't do.
Why would they do that unless they thought that they were better than everyone else?
How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat.
They also have an archive of information and secrets that they don't share with outsiders. What do they have to hide? And why do they have rules against getting it on? Not gonna lie, the Jedi are really sus. And I don't think anything makes this clearer than taking a look at their code. The Jedi Code is as follows. There is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. On the surface, this seems like a perfectly harmless mantra, but let's take a closer look. There is no emotion. There is no passion? Those two statements are factually untrue. Everyone experiences emotion and passion. It's an important part of our lives. But the Jedi are saying that emotion and passion simply do not exist. Why would they lie about this? They also say that ignorance does not exist, almost as if they're trying to brainwash their Padawans into thinking that the Jedi have all the answers. And I don't know about you, but I think that this war is pretty chaotic. As for death, well, if there is no death, then why do the Jedi bother to help anyone? If death is just an inevitable part of how the Force works, what's the point in helping people? What's the point in saving them from death and suffering? Why bother if it's all natural? This code seems really problematic. But what about the Sith code? Well, the Sith code goes a little something like this. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken, and the Force shall set me free. The Sith Code acknowledges the reality of passion and emotion. The Jedi would have you believe that passion is inherently bad, but humans use passion to achieve our goals. Passion fuels artists, activists, anybody who has a dream that they want to come true. If you want to achieve anything in this world, you have to be passionate about it if you want to get anywhere. The Sith Code provides a roadmap for achieving our goals. Passion gives you the strength and the power to achieve your desires, and through achievement, you will be set free. It seems to me that being a Sith is all about having the freedom to pursue your dreams, fulfilling your potential, and becoming the bestest, most powerfulest version of yourself. Why would the Jedi not want you to be your best self? Unless the Jedi were the real villains. Before Palpatine takes power, the Galactic Republic is a corrupt, dysfunctional, bureaucratic nightmare. They aren't even able to intervene as a corporation stages an illegal invasion on a sovereign nation. And the Jedi are defending this republic. They defend a democracy that does not serve the people. The once great republic has degraded into a parody of itself. Someone needs to fix this. Someone needs to make the republic great again. And Palpatine is the man for the job. Now sure, Palpatine does stage a war in order to increase his own political power, but he does it in service of the republic. Under his leadership, the Republic grows stronger and more secure than ever before. They didn't even have a military before him. How were they supposed to defend themselves against a real threat? When you take this context into consideration, it sure is a good thing that Palpatine invented this fake threat to scare those silly senators into giving him those all-important emergency powers, so that he could create the grand army of the Republic that they desperately needed. But despite having an entire clone army at his disposal, Palpatine never makes a move against the Jedi. If the Sith want to destroy the Jedi, why didn't Palpatine destroy the Jedi at the first opportunity? Palpatine's critics would argue that Anakin Skywalker was still a Jedi at the time, and the Chancellor didn't want to attack the Jedi while they still had the Chosen One on their side. But I think that this theory is bogus, because it would mean that Palpatine was intentionally manipulating Anakin to fall to the dark side. And I don't know about you, but that just sounds wildly out of character to me. Why would Palpatine offer to help Anakin to save Padme if that also meant outing himself as a Sith? Unless he had Anakin's best interests at heart. Why did he not object when Anakin threatened to turn him over to the Jedi?
I'm going to turn you over to the Jedi Council.
Of course, you should.
Why did he never make a move against the Jedi until the Jedi made a move against him? Upon learning about the Chancellor's secret religious practices, the evil Jedi Master Mace Windu stages an assassination attempt against Palpatine, which thankfully is only thwarted by Anakin, who arrives just in time. Palpatine, knowing that the Jedi have essentially declared war against the Republic, decides to respond in kind.
Execute Order 66.
Now, ordering the unrelenting slaughter of the entire Jedi Order may sound a bit extreme, but Palpatine's actions do ensure peace. I mean, think about it. How do you think the Jedi Order would react to learning that Palpatine had killed Mace Windu? It wouldn't have mattered that he had been acting in self-defense.
When the Jedi learn what has transpired here, they will kill us.
They would have started a war against him.
If they are not all destroyed, it will be civil war without him.
By wiping out the Jedi Order, Palpatine actually prevents a civil war and ensures peace. You might think that it's a little brutal for him to order the deaths of these children, but don't forget that the Jedi Order is a weird cult. These children have been indoctrinated. If they had been allowed to go free, they would just grow up and come back for revenge, and there would have been another assassination attempt. Of course, the deaths of these children is regrettable, but ensuring peace is far more important. And really, it's the Jedi's fault for indoctrinating these children into their weird cult. When all the Jedi are dead, there is peace, just as Palpatine promised. If you don't believe me about how dangerous the Jedi were, look at what the last remaining Jedi Masters do when they learn about what happened.
Destroy the Sith. We must.
Obi-Wan and Yoda staged 2 separate assassination attempts on Palpatine and Anakin, one of which nearly succeeds. So much for keepers of the peace.
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
If the Jedi Order had been allowed to continue, imagine how much more chaos there would have been. It really would have been civil war without end. The Jedi are the real warmongers, while Palpatine is taking the necessary measures to protect the peace. And sure, maybe the Republic isn't as democratic as it was before Palpatine took over. But look at what democracy did for the Republic. Corruption, war, arguing, inefficiencies. Say what you will about Palpatine, but he's a strong leader who gets things done. He says it like it is, and he knows that peace, freedom, justice, and security are far more important than democracy. Palpatine ensures that the citizens of the Empire are protected. That's why he built the Death Star. That's why he created government organizations like the ISB, to protect the people from the enemies working against the Empire from within. Minor sacrifices of some small personal freedoms are a small price to pay for ensuring the continuing stability and security. Civil liberties are a nice idea, but in practice they only serve to protect criminals. If you're not a criminal, frankly, who cares if your civil liberties are violated? Peace and security are far more important than your civil liberties. Bringing justice to the enemies of the state is far more important than your civil liberties. You have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide. So why would you be afraid? Unless you were a rebel sympathizer. When you look at it like this, the Empire is actually pretty great. And Palpatine really is a good guy. A well-meaning, kind-hearted man who just wants to do his best for his people. A strong leader who will make the galaxy great again. Hi there. I have a few things I'd like to say. First off, April Fools. This is a joke. I would have thought that was obvious. If you thought I was being serious, I really don't know what to say. I guess you lose. Good day, sir. I hope you thought it was funny. Like, subscribe, follow me on Blue Sky. Although I made this video as a joke, I would like to be serious again, just for a moment. I think it's more important than ever for all of us to always be aware of bias in the media that we're consuming. Propaganda can be used to control the narrative of our collective past and present. And the key to effective propaganda lies in how the story is framed. Withholding information, presenting truthful information in a light that distorts the facts. You don't always have to lie to be deceptive. You can make anything seem reasonable if you frame it just right. Even the crimes of someone as evil as the Emperor. We might roll our eyes at science fiction dystopias and their cartoonishly over-the-top imperialist villains. We may laugh at how absurdly easy it is for Palpatine to convince the Senate to surrender democracy. But real-life propaganda is a lot more insidious than what we see in the movies. There are several wars happening concurrently in the world today, and all of them are allowed to continue indefinitely because politicians can use the media to sell the people a narrative. A narrative that presents the enemy as an evil that cannot be allowed to persist. All resources must be diverted to addressing this threat in the interests of safety and security. The deaths of civilians are a regrettable necessity for the sake of the cause. These narratives are effective because they dehumanize those who will ultimately suffer and die. And once you start down this path, when you allow yourself to stop seeing people as people, when you begin thinking of them as objects, you can do anything you want to them and always feel justified. You might find it difficult to hurt a person, but an object? You can do whatever you want to an object. An object cannot be killed, an object cannot feel pain, suffer, starve, or die. An object cannot be tortured. An object has no rights, no autonomy. An object cannot be a victim of a crime, no matter how heinous, because objects were never people in the first place. Charismatic politicians sell these narratives to their people to keep public opinion on their side, to keep up support for these unnecessary imperialist wars, and in the end, ordinary people will be the ones who suffer the most. People who just want to live their lives in peace, but through an accident of birth happen to end up in the wrong part of the world at the wrong time in human history. Normal, everyday people with family, friends, hopes and dreams. People who are no different than you. And their suffering will be unrecognized, downplayed, and ultimately forgotten. Because, as far as the perpetrators are concerned, they weren't real people. And that is true evil. Propaganda has the power to control our worldview, but only if we allow it to. Thanks for watching.